Welcome to our Jubilee, celebrating 10 years of Icarus, celebrating 10 years of archival cooperation. Actually, without further ado, and to open our little event for tonight, I would first like to call University Professor Taschner to the stage. He is member of the Austrian National Council, and he's here on behalf of Mr. Sobotka, who is the president of the Austrian National Council. Please come to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have to apologize first because I'm speaking BSE, that's bad, simple English, and secondly because I'm not Wolfgang Sobotka, but his substitute, member of the parliament, Wolfgang Sobotka, president of the Austrian parliament, second highest job in Austria. He is so obliged, has so much on obligations that he really regrets that he cannot be here. So I have the honor to congratulate, firstly to congratulate President Aigner for 10 years of Icarus, and President Aigner for this initiative. And secondly, I have to congratulate you all, because as far as I see, you all are the guards of the Holy Grail. That's true. It's not of diamonds, it's not consisting of gold, it's consisting of documents. It's consisting of documents which are the roots of our existence. Anyway, as far as I know, one of you came from the Chaldaic church in Iraq, and he knows the first thing to destroy a culture is to destroy these documents, so that you cannot have your roots. If you cut off the roots of the tree will fall down. And you are the representatives of these roots. And that's the reason for congratulation and for greetings to you. And for emphasizing the very responsibility you have in guarding these roots. So as far as I've heard, now these roots will be digged out by digits. As far as I am a mathematician, I know what digits are, I know what bits and bytes are, and you're using these things to make these roots visible for all people. This is a very, very, very great adventure for you. Will last rather long, but with very great consequences. So that everyone on the world, in Australia, may look what happened in 1648 in Heidelberg. Just by looking at the computer. And this was incredible 10 years ago. And now you are doing this great adventure. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you see, you won't understand a word what I'm saying because I'm speaking English. I will now switch to German so that half of you will understand me, the other half, I promise, it will be very short what I'm telling to you. Meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, ich muss es Ihnen auf Deutsch sagen, weil es für mich im Deutschen auch leichter ist, es Ihnen verständlich zu machen, was ich für eine Gefahr, das ist vielleicht auch ganz gut, dass ich es auf Deutsch sage, was für eine Gefahr ich darin erblicke, dass Sie dieses Unternehmen beginnen. Sie wissen, was Sie damit anstellen. Sie erstellen das Archiv von Babel. You now are constructing the archives of Babel, you know. Everything is written down. Es ist alles geschrieben. Das heißt, Sie werden alles zeigen. Und keiner wird wissen, was ist jetzt das wirklich Wichtige. Denn wenn alles, das hat Nietzsche gesagt,
Wenn wir alles wissen, dann haben wir alles vergessen. Das ist die große Gefahr. Sie werden uns alles zur Verfügung stellen und wir werden nicht wissen, was wir damit tun. Aber ich habe trotzdem die große Hoffnung, dass Sie uns ein Führer sein werden, ein Leuchtturm sein werden, zu sagen, da schau hin, da ist das Wesentliche und dort schau nicht hin, wenn es dich nicht interessiert. Aber wer kann diese Verantwortung übernehmen? Das wird wirklich noch viel schwieriger werden, als es vorher gewesen ist. Denn vorher haben Sie mit diesen kleinen Mengen eine kleine Zahl von Interessenten, die schon mit einem Vorwissen gekommen sind, bearbeiten können. Nun aber kommt jede und jeder zu Ihnen und Sie bieten Ihnen einfach die Bibliothek von Babel. Ich weiß nicht, ob Sie wissen, Borges beschreibt diese Bibliothek von Babel so, dass am Anfang die Menschen unglaublich glücklich sind, weil das alles geschrieben, was jemals geschrieben war. Und dann sind sie durch diese unendlich vielen Gänge hindurchgegangen und haben gemerkt, wo ist das Buch, wo das drinnen steht, was wirklich wahr ist, und sie werden es nicht finden. Also müssen Sie in diesen unendlichen Kavernen, die Sie dann vor sich haben werden, digitale Kavernen, müssen Sie dann Führer und verantwortungsvolle Begleiter sein. Das wird Ihre große Aufgabe sein, also zu der ich Sie beglückwünsche. Ja, tatsächlich. Und der Name Icarus spricht ja für sich. Also wir Mathematiker sind Daedalus. Wir haben Ihnen schon gezeigt, wie man fliegen kann. Und nun nehmen Sie das Wachs. Das Wachs, das sind die Bits und Bytes, auf denen Sie die Federn kaufen. Dieses Wachs nehmen Sie. Und dann geht es hinauf und die Sonne ist dann die Wahrheit. Aber kommen Sie nicht zu nahe zur Sonne. Die richtige Angemessenheit dessen, was Sie dann uns liefern, wird uns führen in ein besseres Verständnis von Geschichte. Und nur wenn wir Geschichte verstehen, können wir uns selbst verstehen. Und Geschichte ist nicht das, was einmal gewesen ist, sondern wie Ranke geschrieben hat, ich will sagen, wie es eigentlich gewesen ist. Und das wesentliche Wort im Rankischen Satz ist das Wort eigentlich. Denn Geschichte sind so wie Sinneseindrücke, die auf uns zukommen. Aber was wir brauchen, ist die Wahrnehmung. Ein Wort, vielleicht wissen Sie es, das erfunden worden ist vom Schüler von Leibniz, von Wolf. Der hat auch Bewusstsein. Dieses Wort ist eine Erfindung aus der Aufklärungszeit. Wahrnehmung. Und wahrnehmen, das kann nicht jeder von sich aus. Das muss man lernen können. Und Sie müssen dann die Menschen führen zur Wahrnehmung von Geschichte. Das wird Ihre große Aufgabe sein. Nicht mehr irgendwelche Fasziklen, irgendwelche Regale zu beobachten, sondern Menschen zur Wahrnehmung zu führen. Da helfen wir Ihnen mit dem Wachs der Zahlen, damit Sie hinauffliegen können in Richtung Sonne. Aber nehmen Sie die Menschen mit, die tragen Sie schon so weit hinunter, dass Sie nicht die Höhe erreichen, wo es dann zu heiß wird. In dem Sinne wünsche ich Ihnen alles Gute, es möge Icarus leben. Vivat, Floreat, Crescat Icarus, ad multos annos. Ich danke Ihnen dafür.
Mr. Taschner, thank you for your reminding words and reminding us of our responsibilities. It sounds like quite a task for the future, truly. I would like next to call Mr. Farrugia on the stage. He is from the European Regional Branch of the International Council of Archives and also the Director of the National Archives of Malta.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and allow me to start with a word of thanks to the Austrian National Council and to Icarus for this gathering and for inviting me on behalf of Eurobica to deliver some welcoming notes. I'll start with a personal note. My first contacts with Icarus were around 8 or 9 years ago when, on behalf of the institution I lead, that is the National Archives of Malta, I applied to join Icarus, and from day one I was impressed by the lack of bureaucracy in the system. So it was just a one-pager application, faxing it to the president. It was still the time of the fax. And basically within few hours, our institution became member of Icarus. And basically that's something which Icarus, I think, maintained till the present day, that it delivers without loads of bureaucracy. The second point is that I reconfirmed this impression I took almost 10 years ago when earlier this year we met in Croatia, and basically the president of Icarus was kind enough to offer coffee and also take the opportunity to discuss business with Icarus. And basically he introduced me to another interesting topic, that is the Topotech, which I then participated in, although the results from my end are not yet there. But again, the system was extremely smooth to collaborate with Icarus. A word about Eurbica. Eurbica, on whom I am addressing this event this evening, is the largest or one of the largest groups within the International Council on Archives. We have around or more than 900 members, and basically our strategy for the future, because lately with the new committee about a year or two ago, we tried to reactivate the work of Eurbica. Our strategy is geared towards professional solidarity and sharing of expertise between archives in Europe. We do not intend to reinvent the wheel, and we do not want to overlap with the work other organizations are doing. With this in mind, our executive board met with Icarus in Croatia, and again we agreed on a way forward without a lot of agreements and bureaucratic tools, and we established the way forward to work in collaboration with Icarus. Basically, we already started with the co-managing of the European archival block, which is already in force, and we also intend to collaborate jointly on sharing our expertise. Basically, Eurbica is offering its wide network of archivists to Icarus, and Icarus will offer us its specialization in certain areas. In terms of concluding words, with these targets in mind, I invite the European archival community. We have a lot of the archival community here, even from the EBNA and the AG groups and other organizations, to reach out to Eurbica for the support we can give to projects and initiatives, and we guarantee we will be working hand in hand with Icarus. Basically, the last point is that I would like to express the sense of satisfaction and pride of all the Eurbica Executive Board in collaborating with Icarus. The success Icarus registered during the last 10 years provides us with a sense of confidence that the future beckons. We will have more Icarus in the years to come, which means we will have more strikers, not only in the soccer field, but in terms of archival projects and collaboration. I thank you and congratulate you for this achievement.
Next, I would like to invite a colleague that has been with us for a long time, Mr. Imler from the Bavarian State Archives.
Dear friends and colleagues, I greet you here on behalf of my superior, Mrs. Xol Markorn, General Director of the Bavarian State Archives, who unfortunately fell ill, and therefore I got the opportunity to greet you on her behalf and to congratulate Icarus for 10 years. I myself have been a member of this community already more than 10 years, because we already joined the Monasterium Consortium before Icarus had been founded, and we are very glad to always get the support of this important international community in the work of digitizing our charters. And it was really a great incentive for us, because this task had been neglected for some time, to receive this support and to get this motivation from this great community to again concentrate on this task. And I also want to add that the words Mr. Taschner just said already fell on fertile ground, because in the process of digitizing, we soon noticed that we not only need to digitize our charters, but also we need to improve the inventories, to get the users of our archives to better find what they are really looking for. And in this task, we also received a lot of support from Icarus and by the mediation of Icarus from the European community. So it has been a very successful way. We joined with all our colleagues in Icarus, and therefore again I want to congratulate ourselves for this 10 wonderful years. Thank you.
Last but not least, I would like to invite Mr. Wegele, who is the president of our Friends Association Icarus for All, on stage.
Dear celebration guests, I feel lucky to be here tonight to celebrate with you the 10th anniversary of Icarus. On behalf of the Development Association Icarus for All, I cordially compliment on this jubilee. One could say 10 years, that's not a long time. In a couple of years, the Bayerische Landesverein, of which I'm also the chairman, will celebrate its centennial. In 2020, the Club Adler in Vienna will celebrate its 150th birthday. By no means can this disdainful remark be left without having a closer view into the balance sheet. Monasterium, Matricula, Topothek. These are the three pillars of Icarus, and they are known throughout the land and the term. What hasn't changed in these past 10 years? I have heard this phrase on several occasions. Inspired by new technologies and by science, but also by acceptance of people, this is possible. This also requires certain visions. Let's just think about the vision of space travel. Presumably, without the realization of this unique success story, there would not be such small and powerful computers we carry around in our pockets today. 10 years ago, there was another vision, namely the free of charge online publication of historical sources for everyone. Now I change the side of the user and the hobby researcher. Every 10 years, the knowledge of mankind doubles. And for sure, you also have heard this many times. This is unbelievable. If I calculate today, going back 10 years, I had only half the knowledge. Going back 20 years, I had only a quarter of today's knowledge. Going back 30 years, only 1/8 of today's knowledge. The status of that time was as follows. No computer, no internet, no emails, instead typewriter, phone without flat rate, carbon papers, stamps, file folders. Visits of parishes, rarely a photocopier on site. Today, this is inconceivable. My children still remember these details when I have started my researches. Now I would have to take my grandchildren to the museum to explain all this. What did this mean in my early days as a family researcher? Day trips to archives, maximum use of opening times in archives, only short lunch breaks, approximately 50 trips to Regensburg, to the Bavarian Evangelical Church's archives, now located in Nuremberg. I consider myself having been able to participate on this gigantic development. Well, Icarus stands for this last decade. Let me give you one example. I have numerous excellents in my line of ancestors. These were evangelical religious refugees from the landline of the Enns in Austria, who settled and depopulated Nördlinger Ries after the 30-year war. I would never have started a trip to Austria to the various archives. Thanks to Matricula, I was able to gain many new insights about those ancestors. By the way, I also have Aigner ancestors in Austria. I'm also happy that meanwhile I'm also involved in this gigantic network of archives, institutions, and genealogical clubs. The pleasing range of original sources has created a responsible task of the genealogical associations, namely the assistance and training of responsible archive visitors. Die Wahrheit zu finden, wie Sie gesagt haben. Clubs now need to find and take on this role. Well, Austria is the Silicon Valley of scientific research. Who would have thought it? The German Piefkes on the offside. Who can understand this fact? I only say in Latin, tu Felix Austria. As Mikhail Gorbachev said to Erich Honecker shortly before the turnaround, life punishes those who delay. It was not without reason that already in 2012, at the German Genealogentag in Augsburg, that is 6 years ago, and at that time Icarus was only 4 years old and went to the kindergarten. And part of the DHEV, that is the umbrella organization of the Deutsche Arbeitsgemeinschaft Genealogischer Verbände, with more than 70 members clubs, awarded the Gatterer Bronze Medal to Icarus and his first sponsor and president, Dr. Thomas Aigner. This is the highest award for organizational leadership in the field of genealogy and heraldry to natural and legal persons. At that time, we already knew what would become of this highly talented kindergarten child. On behalf of the DHEV, I extend the warmest congratulations from its chairman, Dirk Weisleder. I also represent him today in my capacity as vice chairman. In Austria, I would have the title vice president, sounds much better. On March the 10th this year, the DHEV held an own practice workshop with Icarus under my leadership in Nuremberg. Thomas Aigner, Karl Heinz, and Daniel Jeller introduced Monasterium, Matricula, and Topothek to a wide audience of club representatives. Additionally, and for the first time, we heard about the new developments and visions of European project with Icarus participation. I was delighted to recognize what a development our Information Association has taken in the field of Digitalisierung, as we say in Germany. Also, politics are gradually discovering the importance Digitalisierung, the magic word. Relevant ministries are already being established. I do not want that in 10 years from now, I will have to listen to questions like this. When will other dioceses in Bavaria finally go online, except Passau? In any case, we Icarus for all stand by our premises listed also on our website. You can read it sometimes here and on the website. With this in mind, I want to conclude and wish us all a pleasant evening and interesting conversations. Thank you for your kind attention.
Mr. Wegele, thank you very much. And it seems like I have accidentally promoted you to president of Icarus for All, but never mind. Once again, welcome, dear fellow time travelers. Wait, what? You may think? Time traveling? I don't know. Lately, rumor seems to have it that Icarus is involved in some sort of time traveling business. I don't know. Have you heard about it? Anyone? No? I actually... there's one. And I actually read about it in the newspaper. Well, whatever you might have heard, believe it or not, today is the day we all are going to embark into a journey to the past. Carl and I, we have the pleasure of being your captains for the night. And of course, we have one of our most important crew members, Lieutenant Daniel, who is our Scotty, if you like, in charge of navigation, and he will make sure that we all don't get lost in time and space. Though we really have to admit this is the first time that we actually try to navigate such a novel technological time machine, but we are very well aware of our responsibilities, and we will make sure every one of us will return back to the present safe and sound. So, on our way into the past, we will travel all the way back into the age of Icarus, and even further into prehistoric times, the age of Monasterium. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this maiden voyage of our Icarus time machine. Our travel time will cover roughly a decade, a little more, but it will feel like merely an hour and a half. And of course, we will travel at hyper-fast warp speed and pop up again in the present at the end of this night. Before we are ready for takeoff, though, I have to inform you about some safety regulations. First of all, please make sure to fasten your seatbelt, because we don't really know how bumpy this ride is really going to get. Also, if you have any loose items, any carry-on luggage, please make sure you hold on tight, because who knows what gravity is going to be like when we travel through time and space. Finally, please make sure you put all of your electronic devices into time travel mode, just to make sure we don't drop out of warp speed. Oh, and naturally, this is a non-smoking flight. Also, you might have noticed that we don't have any emergency exits nor any emergency brakes on board. Well, at this point, we're all past the point of no return. And once we picked up speed, there's no turning back. So, are you all ready for takeoff? Yeah? All right. Lieutenant Daniel, make it so.
So, good evening, welcome from my side too. It seems that we successfully reached the very beginning, the cradle of the development, the year 2002. The very beginning of 2000, of what is today, or 2018, well known as Icarus, the very beginning was very humble, has a very strong local and Lower Austrian relevancy. At that time, the Lower Austrian monasteries hide a very big secret, a treasure, a hidden treasure, a hardly accessible treasure. 10,000s of charters, parchment charters, hardly accessible, the base of the old history of the country. Mr. Karl Brunner, at that time, professor for medieval history in the University of Vienna, and for long years, director of the Institute for Austrian Historical Research. At that time, in 2002, you had a vision appearing in front of your mind's eye. Can you shortly explain what you have seen?
Well, I'm sorry, there wasn't a vision. There was only to try to be on service, to support, to offer support. We began to make some jobs for young people, for young historians, and here in this room at minst 5 or 6 of them, and he was the key person of this project. And then we had, you said it, these charters in the monastery, very few people who could be on service for the public persons, and we did know some of the abbots of these monasteries. These abbots gave us a kind of seed money to begin the project of monasterium, and then it grows, and the vision behind is the vision of service, and this is the secret of success, because the vision is provided by you. You all have your own vision for your charters and so on, and we are only the people who connect all these things and all these and Manfred Thaler, who was also one of the first in our project, is ein Zeuge davon.
Witness.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
We will continue our time travel into the year 2003. And the first monastery archive, the Charters collection of the Premonstratensian monastery archives of Geras, went online. And this is actually when monasterium was born, but it was only the beginning. It was logical to look across the borders, since the Lower Austrian monasteries had very close relationships, of course, with the neighboring Czech, Hungarian, and Bavarian monasteries. This way, the first international contacts to the Archabbey of Pannonhalma, to the archives of the Diocese of Passau, and to Prague with the Archabbey of Chełmno could be established. And at this point, the first cross-border EU project could be set about. And it seems like we have hit a little bit of a time-space anomaly, because we were supposed to meet Ms. Drashova at this point. Instead, we have the pleasure of meeting Ms. Čečková. She's the director of the first department of the Czech National Archives. Very nice to meet you here in the year 2003. Ms. Čečková, Please tell us, what was it like to meet these project managers of Monasterium for the first time?
It was very, I think that when I met Thomas and Karel in my office around my small round table, I must say that it completely changed my life. Because I've never seen to this time about digitizing, about making accessible charters in European virtual archives. So now it's better also in our country because we have also some technical development, but this time it was something very new for me. So I think that we were a little skeptical how it was doing, but now, after 10 years, I must say that we have 43,000 charters digitized in virtual archives from all state archives of Czech Republic, and I am very proud that we create international family in the frame of Icarus, and we are very proud that we are a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jitka, for these nice words. But on we go on the time travel. The next step, 2004, is witnessing the next quantum leap in the development of our movement, so to say, due to the fact that we established very intensive relationship to the Austrian state archives. It was possible to digitize more than 20,000 charters from Salzburg and process them. So the range of monasterium was enlarged from only monasteries to bishoprics, archdioceses, and to chapters. In 2004, Mr. Lorenz Mikulecki, you had been Director General of the Austrian State Archive. At that time, to digitize charters and present them to the internet publicly was a quite new approach. And I think it's little wonder that you have little, well, how to say, some reservations. What made you finally, what thoughts made you support this idea at the end?
You are right, and you said it also. I was very skeptical in the beginning. And as a brave state worker, I asked how much costs this thing and who will pay it. And I went to my administration vice manager, and she said, no, we have no money for this. And after some meetings with colleagues who know the way and what happened, for instance, Mr. Magister Just, he explained what can help with this. But in the next time, I was also skeptical. Mr. Taschner said the name Icarus. As a humanistic scholar, I know what happened with Icarus, and so I thought, oh, no, this name and so on. But the idea, but months later, I had often a meeting with Mr. Eigner, and he was speaking with me and speaking, and you understand, and I understand, and so. And once it makes in my brain, it click. And I heard, we have nothing to pay. Yes, that's a problem. The state archives never have money for nothing. Till today, I know, I think. So you have to clear up this. But I am very impressed from the organization what Mr. Eigner made, and I am very happy also. The president of Icarus for All and my vice president said what he's thinking about this from this side, from the old members. And now I'm retired long years, nearly 6 years now, but I attend very well these meetings and wish all the best for the future, because it's now running and it's changing from Icarus to his father a bit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also have to excuse our very, very old school technological equipment. Of course, it's due to budget as well. But anyhow, thank you very much. We will continue our journey into the year 2005. Eventually, the momentum picked up some speed, and numerous contacts to further archives in Central Europe expanded the existing network. Talks with the General Directorate of the Bavarian State Archives started, and at the end of 2005, almost 60 archives from 9 countries participated in the network. Monasterium definitely grew into a comprehensive initiative in the whole of Central Europe. Parallel to this, the idea came up to change the technical foundation of Monasterium and to improve the system with the support of the University of Cologne towards a collaborative archive. This is where we meet Mr. Thaler. It's a pleasure to meet you, the director of the Institute for Historical and Cultural Information Processing at the University of Cologne. The fact that Monasterium developed into such a pioneering endeavor with regard to its technical capacities, apart from its content-related diversity, is to a very large extent owed to the close cooperation with your institute. Mr. Thaler, how do you view this metamorphosis of Monasterium?
Well, you know, when I think about Monasterium, I quite frequently think about a successful prison break, where charters and other archival documents are broken out of the prison and the walls of physical inaccessibility. What you do with a prisoner whom you have successfully broken out of the prison is certainly open. But what you should not do is put your own handcuffs or other handcuffs upon him or her. And in 2006, there were 2 tendencies which were a bit dangerous. One was that quite a few archives opted for industrial solutions, which made them very much dependent upon a provider of software who could, in the long term, imprison the just broken free documents quite effectively. And in some countries, the notion was that archives should fund themselves by selling access to these documents. That was one of the major reasons why I thought to keep the prisoners free, you should emphasize that all of that could be done by open source software, which at that time was rising, but certainly not as important as it is today. And it should keep the prisoners free, also from the notion that you should not create profits for industrial companies. That was the reason for the decisions. And if I look back at it after 10 years, what I think about it, well, it worked. So it probably has been the right decision.
Thank you very much. And on we go on the time travel. As you can see on the screen, 2006. The number of charters in Monasterium grows, and so does the number of participants. Regular semi-annual meetings, the first one held in Prague, if you remember, support and foster the intense exchange within the network. The basic philosophy, this is to overcome borders, to explore new horizons, and basically be open to new perspectives, became a strong base for the whole community. And from the very beginning, it was a principle that we should motivate partners all over Europe to become part of this society, of this network, even when the political circumstances are not too ideal. So, my friend, Žarko Vujošević, in 2006, you were working at the Institute of Balkan Studies of the Serbian Academy of Sciences. The inclusion of the Balkan Peninsula to this European network was a very important goal at that time. So how would you, from the Serbian point of view, comment this integration into this European network?
Yeah, my friend Karl, thank you for the question. In spite of political circumstances you mentioned, who are always about to spoil some good ideas or development of some good ideas, but within Icarus community it's fortunately not the fact. And at this point I would remember to our traditional three pillars of Icarus, which are complementarity, synergy and activity. And from the Serbian point of view I would add the fourth one, and it would be inclusiveness. I think from our point of view it could be significant because of several matters which elsewhere could act as excluding factors. For example, that we are outside of the European Union, or maybe the fact that Serbia is within Icarus not represented by the national archives, but by other institutions, educational and research institutions such as Academy of Sciences or the Faculty of Philosophy. But to that point, I could emphasize what all of us remembered Herr Taschner at the beginning, that we are at least considering our role to be the ones who are able to divide what is important from what is not important in archival stocks, or to be the ones who are able to translate those, let me say, dead documents into the story of what actually happened. And considering those stocks, it is also not a big reference from our side that our archival stocks with which we started our story within Monasterium, namely the medieval charters, are not so big in amount, comparing with the huge number of charters coming from other Central European archives. And the further fact that those charters are not written in Latin language, but mostly in autochthonous language and script. But in spite of all those circumstances, there were no reasons for us to feel ourselves strange or insufficient or, I don't know, apart within Icarus community. We rather learned what does it mean to be welcome, so as we are, and with these funds or skills which we can to contribute to the whole. And because of that, we are happy to be the part of the whole, and within Icarus community who gives to all the chance to develop their skills or to contribute with their own treasuries. And maybe the most important of all, to gain and improve the international friendship and collaboration. And we took that chance, and we are happy to be on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have traveled quite a few years now, and I don't know I see a few dizzy heads in the crowd. You might feel a little tingle in your nose. That's nothing to worry about. It'll pass. It's just time travel. It's really challenging on our mind, on our body, and on our soul. So this is why we decided to treat all of us to another piece of beautiful music, and also we have our lovely flight attendants in the back who will serve you a little sugar infusion just to make sure our precious gray matter stays up to speed. Okay, with our souls and minds well taken care of, we will continue with our journey. And we reached the year 2008. The development up to now has clearly shown that there was a desire beyond digitization for international cooperation between archives and also steady exchange with universities and further historical research institutes. Furthermore, the thought of how to secure monasterium sustainably suggested itself. Thus, in 2008, this memorable date, during the General Assembly in Bratislava, Icarus was founded. Icarus was, and still is, an association under Austrian law, and it's a platform for international cooperation. The monasterium partners got invited individually to join this new association. And at this point, it seems like we've hit another space and time anomaly, because we were supposed to meet Mr. Reis, formerly Deputy Director General of the Hungarian National Archives, but we're equally as happy to meet now Mr. Ratz. We are very happy to meet you on behalf of Mr. Reis. You are the Deputy Director General of the Hungarian National Archives in the present. Tell us, what were the negotiations like in 2008?
Thank you, words. Csaba Reis wrote for you his words and asked me to read it. I can't read it because too personally, and I am in the box. The Icarus saga. How have I ended up in this story? This story became the concern of the National Archives of Hungary in 2006. We joined the project that had been initiated to digitize ecclesiastical charters in that year. At the beginning, mainly the representatives of the ecclesiastical archives were the partners. We were only observers. Mr. Lajos Gecsényi, Director General, who always handled the international issues, especially those related to Austria with special care, basically encouraged the cooperation. He stated that it is more useful to have permanent representation in these projects rather than being represented by temporarily appointed colleagues. Thus, Dr. György Ratz, referent of the so-called diplomatical archives, the colleague responsible for the medieval database, was appointed for permanent representation. György Ratz created good professional and personal relationships within the continuously expanding community between 2006 and 2011. He was the representative of our institute. He prepared the parts of the tenders our archives was responsible for, and he coordinated our task in the winning project, for example, the last but one an art project. And last but not least, he was the one who passed me the representative role in this international circle that can make me forget the unfair discharge from my previous post. The monasterium project had its meeting with a still memorable reception in Budapest in November 2007. Myself, as the Deputy General Director, welcomed the participants in the name of the National Archives. It was my first encounter with this community, though at the time it was just a compulsory task. The General Director of the Archives asked me to read the set of rules in German language that was the draft of the bylaws of an Austrian association to be founded, planned to be called Icarus. It was version number 2, created on 2nd of November 2007. Our meeting with Mr. Thomas Eigner and Mr. Karl-Heinz was exactly 11 years ago on 9th November. Let me tell you a secret about my previous managing life. The roles that we shared with our general director was the following. He was the good cop, good manager, and I was the bad cop, strict deputy. I stated the truth, and he softened it professionally, politically. That time, as always, I openly told my opinion about the still not complete draft, and to my surprise, Mr. Thomas Eigner accepted my critical opinion positively and with thankfulness. I was surprised, as I had not been used to this attitude. I stated the following in the record document regarding the participation in the association. I strongly think that the participation in the association doesn't make any harm. However, I don't know whether it has any positive effects. I consider reading and evaluating this document cause unnecessary time loss for most of us. That is, I was not really excited about the participation. After 11 years and the numerous positive experiences, now I am really surprised at my own opinion. Although I can normally evaluate things well, this time I underestimated the possibilities and the potentials of this association. For the past 4 years, the knowledge that friends, a community and a meaningful task are awaiting me in Icarus have basically made the wheels of my life turn. Icarus is the inspiration and a good example for me. Now I can confess that I have stolen some of its ideas. Uploading of the 100,000 charter was celebrated in Vienna in November 2008 by the participants ceremoniously uploading further charters. The result and its astonishing introduction were stunning. In spring 2010, when I was still the General Director of the National Archives, we had just finished the digitization of the charters and their uploading online. The uploading of the last unit that contained almost 70,000 charters were started by the Minister of Culture himself by his click on the mouse. It was a really successful event, thus I am sure we must pay attention to the work of Icarus as it is good for us as well. Thank you.
So thank you very much. And on we go to the next year on the timeline 2009. So the structural changes Icarus had been founded had a lot of consequences. In first, Monasterium, of course, remained a very important pillar of the structure of Icarus, but was not the center of attention any longer. So with the foundation of Icarus, the focus was pointed on project-oriented cooperation. A lot of names, Charters Network, the participation on the Apex project, only to name two, only some examples for this. Another very stable pillar is the development of the matricular portal for church register books. And finally, the participation on the EBNA meeting in Prague in 2009 opens up the whole Europe for Icarus. So, Vlatko Lemic, you've been for a long time General Director of the Croatian State Archives, and for many years you've been very, very active in disseminating this basic idea of collaboration and expanding new ideas also on the Balkan Peninsula. So this networking was a decisive factor. What activities did you start and will you start in future time to amend and to publish these basic ideas?
So beginning was, as you said, in 2009 when we introduced Croatian State Archive into Icarus Network, and with Croatian State Archives and me who was inside of that, it was the speaking about Icarus all around, so on every meeting, on every glam occasion, of every other activity, it was all about Icarus, 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 and maybe not just in first sentence, but in second sentence. And since I was meeting a lot of people, so it was a lot of Icarus, so not just in Croatia. We first established our network in Croatia, so gaining new members, other regional archives, and then also in the neighboring countries, in Bosnia, Macedonia, going south, Romania, Bulgaria, going south, Turkey to Baghdad. And in these 10 years, I think I had, more than 10,000 lectures about Icarus all around, from Toronto to Australia. And what we achieve, I hope we achieve something, because we introduced in Croatia through the Icarus network our first material on the international digital platforms. Monasterium was the first international platform for us. Then through Icarus we meet Apex and Ape, and Mapire and Matricula and Topoteca, which are now We are trying to get in touch with Austria number. We are trying to, and we work on that. We introduced Icarus Croatia because we wanted to make the strong base for the implementation of these ideas in this field in the national level, and we hope it will be model for the others. So in the 2 years of Icarus Croatia, we have the network of 110 members, which I'm very proud because this is not just Archival, but also people from museum, libraries, universities, rectors of universities, people from all around. One of the moments we also introduced, and it was the event that I got the best event manager in Icarus Network when my colleague Zlatko came around. We also start the new set of meetings. We introduced Icarus Days Croatia, which will be jubileum for the next year for the 5th time. And we gather about 160 to 180 people from all around Europe every year. As Charles said, we got these occasions this year in Croatia, in this Icarus Day Croatia. We get in touch with Eurbica, we get in touch in these occasions with people all around. We get in touch, for example, colleagues from Bosnia start the Matricula this year. We start our magazine, we start our own projects with building this network. So this is the idea, basically around. And our idea was, as Thomas said, when we speak, the idea was Icarus going south. And I think we have to change this Icarus going all around the globe now. So I hope we will all work in this direction. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
We will continue our travel through the year 2010. And in 2010, we see that to spread the idea of Icarus, there's one project that's quite helpful, and it's called ENARC, or it's a European Network on Archival Cooperation. It started in the fall of 2010 in Zagreb, and this project created the economic conditions to further expand and deepen the network for the next 5 years. Essential for this intense cooperation between archives and also universities, which discovered the digital archive collections for their teaching activities. The collaborative tool of Monasterium, EditMom, suits this purpose perfectly. In this context, it's especially the University Federico II in Naples that proves to be quite active. Ms. Ambrosio, what a pleasure to meet you here in 2010. You are Professor of Historical Auxiliary Sciences at the University Federico II in Naples. And you are still, of course, in 2018. Your activities now, though, in 2010, and back in the present future, are quite a striking proof that Icarus is not merely a network of archives, but it's rather a network open for universities and also further research institutes. Please, Ms. Ambrosio, tell us what has happened throughout the years.
Good evening, and thank you for the introduction. I am very happy to be here. A brief introduction. I am very happy because Icarus for me and for my group, Maria Rosaria Falcone, Vera Isabel Ricci, and for my students, is a great big family. And it is very important for me because Icarus, it was and it is fundamental for our learning path with the students. Overall, the platform are important. Monasterium for diplomatics and paleography, Topotech. In the COP project, we test the potentialities of Topotech too for archival sciences. And the first experiences of learning were in Germany and in Naples, and then actually we have some experiences in various countries, in Spain, in Austria, in Italy, in France, and in Serbia. I'm referring overall on the University of Icarus, but the importance of the platform overall for the learning, because monasterium overall permits a time machine. It is a time machine from the present to the past, and from the archives to the digital contents on the web. The learning path became in this more effective, more interesting, and with fun. For the students is important. And I would thank you my colleagues for this occasion. Another aspect is important for the students. They feel a part of a large community, an international community, and is important for their thinking of their future. For work, I'm referring overall. And thank you so much. Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for this vivid explanation. But we have no time to rest. We're coming closer and closer to the present time. The next stop, 2012, and this 2012 we can really call an adventurous year for Icarus. Icarus, the network, became more and more a central platform for international projects. Little later, the Topothek came under the roof of Icarus and was another supporting pillar beside Monasterium and Matricula in the digital infrastructure of Icarus. One brief look to the neighboring regions of Europe, to the Middle East, to Iraq, showed us that very ancient cultural heritage was threatened to be completely eliminated by war and terror. So it was self-evident from our point of view of Icarus, from the network, to act supportively and solidaric to the rescuing efforts. Pater Michael Najib, welcome here in Vienna. You are father of a Dominican order in Erbil, in Iraq. And you saved, at the risk of your own life, immense treasures, historical treasures, witnesses of the Chaldean culture, and from being destroyed by religious fundamentalism. Within the Digital Center for Oriental Manuscripts, you work also on a conservatoric preservation of these rescued witnesses and sources. So I want really to ask you, what is your basic message to the European historians, to the European archivists, and what is the way we could help you in future effectively?
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank Icarus for this anniversary, and especially through Dr. Thomas Agner, because he helped us in different ways, and still also to help us. In fact, this treasure is very, very important, because it's not our own treasure, but it's international treasure for all the world. now this treasure is in very risky situation. And ISIS organization, Islamic groups, they destroyed many thousands of this kind of manuscripts. So what I have to do, and I try to save this kind of culture and the treasure at the same time as well as with the population. And when in 2014, when ISIS attacked Mosul and attacked Yazidis communities, and he killed more than 8,000 of men and kidnapped and esclavation girls, 4,500 girls. They are taken them as a slave, and he sell them and work with them. We try to save the population and also the culture, the manuscripts, as well as we save, as you said, the tree and the roots at the same time. We can't separate them. That's why I try to put out of this risk the population, help them, and also this treasure that we saved at the last time. In fact, just 10 days before ISIS came to Mosul and to Nineveh plain, I put them out of borders of Nineveh to Kurdistan in Erbil. So what I have to say to European Center of Archiving, I said, it's a very good job that you are done and continue to do that, but I ask you to have more kits now here in Europe. The kits mean have some partners outside of the border of European, because this kind of collaboration and partnerships, it's very important to give a new life to our mondial and international archiving. And what we need, in fact, we need support, and how also the technical way to digitizing and preserving, and at the same time digitizing this kind of treasure is very, very important. In fact, this kind of work is not just for normal people. I am priest, as you know, Catholic priest. I'm not married, but I have many thousands of kids because every manuscript I consider it as a kit. So it's very important now to give life to this kind of kits and new generation for keep it for a new generation. In fact, not because it's a Christian collections, but also Yazidis collections, Muslims collection, Sunnite and Shiite, and also Mandian and another partnerships in all Iraq and outside of the border of Iraq, in Syria and in Turkey and in Iran also. We try to collaborate with them and to keep safe our treasure, because it's your treasure, and we try and we should share it all together to keep it for future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your experiences, your thoughts with us, and thank you for sharing your energy and your positive attitude with us as well. With this in mind, we will continue our time travel. We will get closer to present day. We actually reach the year 2014. Besides the cooperation between the archives amongst each other, with time it proved indispensable to intensify the interaction also with the archive users. With this goal in mind, the EU-funded project Co-op started in 2014. Also, the involvement of private persons into the network through the foundation of our Friends Association Icarus for All, and also the publication of our magazine Insights is to be seen in this context. Furthermore, the cooperation with companies of relevant areas, as well as the increasing cooperation with new partners from Northern Europe evolved within these past few years. Mr. Nuoteva, thank you for meeting us here. So basically just around the corner before being back in the present. You are, so to speak, our link to November 9th, 2018. As General Director of the Finnish National Archives, you are co-responsible for the circumstance that Finland actually can be considered a prime example of open access to information in the archive world. In your opinion, how can Icarus contribute towards making this kind of access a standard in other parts of Europe?
Well, I must say that following the Icarus story from the beginning practically, I have been recognizing it as one of the best practices. And I think that it has been very important that we find the kind of examples also from the side of the humanities and social sciences. So before coming to the National Archives, I was working as the Secretary General of the Research Council for Humanities and Social Sciences at the Academy of Finland, and comparing also what was done on the side of the hard sciences. I was looking for the kind of good examples and good practices that we can also adopt much more widely on the European field. And I think that Icarus was one of those. I had been working also chairing the Alliance of the Preservation of Research Data, that was Alliance of mainly hard sciences. It was CERN, it was European Space Agency, and therefore having the kind of example that you were able to show was essential. And I think that when we look at the question from the Nordic side, it is question of information management at large, so that it is question how you can make the information available for research. I was quite critical towards the Europeana, because all the ministers were talking about the Europeana and how important it is that we digitize the crown jewels of our European culture. Of course, they are important that we have the crown jewels, but when we ask who is using them, I think that is the question that the people who are interested in the crown jewels, they can Google them, so that is not only the Europeana, but what we needed is that we have systematic materials that are relevant for research. And I think that this has been the reason why we find that as a good example of information, scientific information management, we have been able to join through the co-op the work that is ongoing. And I think that it is also important to see that you have been able to develop new ways to handle information, so that it is not as it started as digitization of the older materials, but it is very much also in looking for new options for semantic web, for new algorithms that you can use in handling the information and making it available. And I think that it's very good that you chose to have the celebrations here in the tower, so that you can see long distances. And I think that it is very important that for the people we are able to see new perspectives, new landscapes. And I must tell a funny story. There was a high building that was erected in Finland, and a guy was there watching at the surrounding, and a journalist came to him and asked how wonderful it is to see the landscape, and he said, yes, it is very good to see all what you can see from here. And the journalist asked, how far can you see from here? And he said, all the way to the sun.
Good.
So, fellow time travelers, welcome back in the present. I think it looks like it, but let me check. Lieutenant Daniel?
It seems as if we are already back in 2018, I guess.
And what's the time?
10 minutes before 9 Central European time.
Perfect, thank you. Well, anyways, we hope none of your belongings got stuck in time and space, and of course you may turn your electronic devices back into silent mode. And on behalf of the entire crew of our Icarus time machine, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this experimental journey into the past. And of course, we're looking forward to seeing you again on board in the near future. Also, you're all certified time travelers now, and you have earned your Icarus star. Right? For your safety, though, please remain seated until the end of this event. And before we will continue with our program, let's listen to some more music, shall we? Okay, we're going to continue with our program. There are two very special colleagues that we would like to award honorary memberships now. And first I would like to call Jitka Krečková to the stage with her laudation.
Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, erlauben Sie mir, Ihnen die Persönlichkeit meiner lieben Freundin und Kollegin, Frau Dr. Alena Pazderová, einer langjährigen Mitarbeiterin und Leiterin der ersten Abteilung des Nationalarchivs der Tschechischen Republik, zu beschreiben, die am heutigen Abend mit der Ehrenmitgliedschaft des Internationalen Vereins Icarus geehrt wird. Alena Pazderová studierte an der Philosophischen Fakultät der Karls-Universität in Prag. Nach dem Abschluss im Fach Geschichte und Archivwesen wurde sie am 1. August 1976 in der ersten Abteilung des staatlichen Zentralarchivs, heute Nationalarchiv, angestellt, dem sie bis heute treu blieb. Der historische Umbruch im November 1989 eröffnete ihr neue Möglichkeiten, die sie auch nutzte. Im Jahr 1992 wurde sie zur Leiterin der ersten Abteilung. Ab dem Jahr 1993 war sie Mitarbeiterin am bedeutenden internationalen Projekt Demografische und soziale Erforschung von Böhmen im 16. bis 19. Jahrhundert. Diese Erforschung wurde vom Institut für Wirtschafts- und Sozialgeschichte der Uni Wien geleitet. Die Forschungsergebnisse wurden vom Institut für den Donauraum und Mitteleuropa durch die Vergabe des renommierten Mitteleuropa- und Anton Gindeli-Preises 2004-5 entsprechend gewürdigt. Editionstheorie und Praxis gehören zum bedeutendsten Bereich des fachlichen Interesses von Alena Pazderova. Sie leitet das Editionsprojekt Epistulae et Acta Nunciorum Apostolicorum apud Imperatorem. Dieses Projekt entstand schon in der ersten Hälfte des 20. Jahrhunderts im Archiv des Landes Böhmen, aber es musste wegen der politischen Situation in der damaligen Tschechoslowakei nach 1948 für viele Jahre unterbrochen werden. Nach 1989 erwarb sie Frau Alena Pazderova erhebliche Verdienste bei der Wiederaufnahme der Tätigkeit des Tschechischen Historischen Instituts in Rom, womit sie die Erfüllung der Obliegenheiten des Nationalarchivs als Nachfolger des Landesarchivs beginnen konnte. Im Jahr 2016 wurden die ersten 3 Bände der Edition über die Korrespondenz des päpstlichen Nuntius am Kaiserhof in Prag, Cesare Speciano, herausgegeben als Resultat der Erforschung von Handschriften im Vatikanischen Archiv, in der Vatikanischen Bibliothek und in der Ambrosianischen Bibliothek in Mailand. Im Jahr 2004 stand Alena Pazderova am Anfang des Monasteriumprojekts im Nationalarchiv und in den anderen Archiven der Tschechischen Republik. Zudem war sie bereits in der Geburtsstunde des Icarus-Vereins im Jahr 2008 dabei und wurde zum Vorstandsmitglied. Als langjährige Kollegin und Freundin habe ich immer ihre kreativen, fachlichen und organisatorischen Fähigkeiten, das ehrliche und direkte Handeln, die Fähigkeit, ihre Mitarbeiter tatkräftig zu unterstützen und nicht zuletzt ihren Sinn für Humor sehr geschätzt. Ich weiß nun sehr gut, wie viel Aufopferung und Empathie sich hinter ihrer markanten Persönlichkeit verbirgt. Alena Pazderova erhielt im Jahr 2012 die Ehrenmedaille für Verdienste im Bereich Archivwesen. Im Jahr 2017 wurde sie vom Kardinal Dominik Duka für ihren außerordentlichen Beitrag zur Geschichtsforschung mit der persönlichen Medaille des Erzbischofs von Prag ausgezeichnet. Heute erhält sie eine internationale Anerkennung durch die Erteilung der Ehrenmitgliedschaft des Icarus-Vereins. Alena Pazderova strebte in ihrer Bescheidenheit niemals eine Medaillensammlung an. Gleichwohl wird ihr diese Auszeichnung gemeint als Dank für ihren Altruismus und als Respektbezeugung und Anerkennung ihrer professionellen Arbeit sicherlich Freude bereiten. Danke.
Well, the next laudation, I would like to call Thomas Eigner to the stage, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to say he's the only one in the room who doesn't need much of an introduction.
Thank you very much. I think it's one of the biggest pleasures of being the president of Icarus to say thank you. And a special way to say thank you is to award the honorary membership to persons who have special merits for Icarus. And Alena, of course, you are one of the most important persons when we founded Icarus. But there is another person, it's Herbert Wurster, the diocesan archivist of Passau in Germany. Herbert Wurster still is the treasurer of Icarus. He's the founding treasurer of Icarus, and I do hope that he will be our treasurer also in the future. So this means this year he retired, but I do hope that you do not retire from Icarus. But some remarks, why do we award Herbert Wurster the honorary membership? It's not just being the treasurer of Icarus, it's also because he's one of the most innovative and open-minded archivists I ever met. And if you consider that he's a church archivist, this is even much more important. And I remember when we first met, I think it was in Linz in 1999 or something like that. We met there, and he said something from European Union and networks of excellence. At that time, I was not very much into international collaboration. My primary focus was on my abbey in my home village, Klein Mariazell. Most of you know it perhaps already. And so my world was quite small, and he spoke something about European Union and networks of excellence. But I think that shows that already in 1999 that he spoke about such things, that he is a very open-minded person. And within the following years, Herbert Wurster became one of the strongest allies of my archive in St. Pölten, but also within Icarus. Because the first European project we carried out with the Czech National Archives, the German partner was you. You can guess it was the Diocesan Archives of Passau. And it's the Diocesan Archives of Passau that is also part of projects like Read Transcribus. Yes? The small, really, compared to the Bundesarchiv, the tiny archive of Passau, it's in one of the most innovative European projects at the moment. And one thing still has to be mentioned. Herbert Wurster, it was not always easy for him. Because you can imagine that the community of the other church archivists, doesn't matter if it's Germany or Austria or Italy, that they are not so, how shall I say, positively minded regarding digitization. And so he really had to fight a lot in order to keep his position as a pioneer, also in building huge databases. He was the one who had already in the 90s, the vision of a huge database of all the entries in his birth, marriage and death registers. But also he was the one who digitized as the first German diocese all his register books and set them online against a lot of resistances. And so it's really an honor and a pleasure for me, Herbert, to bring you in the circle of the honorary members of Icarus. Alena, you too. And I have to stress, being a honorary, you can retire as the director of the archives, but you cannot retire as being a member of Icarus and being part of our family. So may I ask you to come here so that we can award you the honorary member charters. May I ask also my vice presidents, Vladka and Antonella, that we can hand over the charters.
Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, gestatten Sie mir, mich bei Ihnen für die Erteilung der Ehrenmitgliedschaft im Icarus-Verein herzlich zu bedanken. Es ist für mich wahrlich eine große Ehre und ich schätze diese Auszeichnung sehr. Als vor 14 Jahren die ersten Pläne für die Digitalisierung von Urkunden aus dem Archivbestand Benediktiner Břevnov in Zusammenarbeit mit österreichischen Kollegen aufkamen, konnte ich jemals ahnen, dass auch aus diesem bescheidenen Anfang ein so immenses Werk entsteht, was Hunderttausende digitalisierte Urkunden auf der Webseite Monasterium.net eindrucksvoll belegen. Auch wäre mir nie eingefallen, dass jener blonde Jüngling, der unser Präsident Dr. Thomas Aigner damals war, sowie jener lächelnde Riese, ich denke an den Dr. Karl-Heinz, unser Bemühen zur Perfektion und Entstehung des Icarus-Vereins hinführen werden. Und schon gar nicht hätte ich geahnt, dass der Aktionsradius dieses Vereins nicht nur das ganze Europa umfasst, sondern auch bis in die Vereinigten Staaten und Kanada ausstrahlt. Wenn ich mich an die ersten Anfänge des Monasterium-Projekts im Nationalarchiv erinnere, muss ich mit Dankbarkeit an den zu früh verstorbenen Direktor der tschechischen Archivverwaltung, Dr. Václav Babečka, denken, ein Ehrenmitglied von Icarus, der immer unsere Arbeit förderte und mit Interesse verfolgte. Es gehört sich, mich auch bei der Direktorin des Nationalarchivs Dr. Eva Drašarová zu bedanken, die uns ihren vielseitigen Beistand leistete und leistet. An dieser Stelle würde ich gerne auch den ersten österreichischen Digitalisator im Nationalarchiv erwähnen, der uns nicht nur durch sein nonkonformes Aussehen fasziniert. Ich denke dabei an Daniel Jela, aber auch an seine vorzüglich durchgeführte Digitalisierung der Urkunden des Archivs der böhmischen Krone. Außerdem kann man den legendären Robert Reiter nicht vergessen, einen Mann mit vielen Professionen, der uns mit seinen Lebensgeschichten und seinem Gesang belustigte. Aufbackte er für uns viele gute Google-Hupfe, vor allem aber digitalisierte er meisterhaft große Mengen an Urkunden, nicht nur im Nationalarchiv, sondern auch in anderen tschechischen und mährischen Archiven. Ich glaube, dass unsere Mitgliedschaft im Icarus-Verein ein Beitrag für alle tschechischen Archivare ist, die mit Liebe ihren Beruf ausüben, was zum Beispiel ihre legendären Exkursionen in die ausländischen Archive bezeugen. Unvergesslich der Besuch von Staatsarchiven in Neapel und Palermo, mitorganisiert von Antonella Ambrosio und ihren Kolleginnen, sowie der Besuch des Archivs des Bistums Passau bei Herbert Wurster. Ich schätze sehr den freundschaftlichen und kollegialen Geist, der immer unter den Icarus-Mitgliedern herrschte und nach wie vor herrscht und als treibende Kraft für die Realisierung aller internationalen Projekte wird, die dem Monasterium folgten. Nicht zuletzt möchte ich mich auch bei meiner langjährigen Kollegin Magistritka Křečková für ihre Freundschaft und allseitige Unterstützung in den vergangenen Jahren bedanken. Liebe Kolleginnen, liebe Kollegen, noch einmal danke ich Ihnen für die erwiesene Ehre und wünsche allen Mitgliedern des Icarus-Vereins gute Gesundheit, viele gute Ideen und sinnvolle Projekte, die auch nach wie vor gute Dienste der Fach- und Laienöffentlichkeit erweisen würden und so wie bisher zur Verständigung und zum Begreifen der Geschichte und Mentalitäten der Völker unseres vereinigten Europa beitragen werden. Ich glaube, dass kreative Zusammenarbeit und Kollegialität ohne jedwege Vorurteile auf künftig das Leitmotiv unseres Vereins sein wird, da wir nur Viribus Unitis große Ziele erreichen können. Danke für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit.
Danke. Ich bin Teil der Geschichte. Gehen Sie, liebe Kollegen, mutig weiter. Danke.
So, dear friends, I had firstly prepared some words, but I will keep it as brief as possible because we are hungry and we have a lot of music tonight still. But I have to say thank you. First of all, I would like to say thank you to all of you who came here to our celebration. It really shows us that you appreciate what we have achieved within the last years, and we really appreciate that. So thank you all for coming here. I want to thank all those who have accompanied the way through the last 16 years. All those who became friends. So I would never have guessed in 1999 in my small world that one of my best friends will be from Belgrade once, for instance, or from many other cities in Europe. And I would never have guessed that the world could become so small once, because before 2002, Europe was a really huge continent for me, very strange outside Austria. But now, independently, if it's Helsinki or it's Prague or it's Zagreb, it's not far away because I know they're very nice people, I know they're highly professional people, and of course, our spirit is not just to have professional relations, our spirit is that we also keep friendship, that we also do not forget that we are human beings that also have emotions and that also want to celebrate together and not just work together. And of course, I think some of you know that Icarus has not only 10 years or 16 years of project history, Icarus has also a very, very important soccer history. Of course, I have to confess there are some games that we better do not mention, but all in all, it was quite successful. If you join us then for the after-show party in the bar, there will be a presentation of that 10 years soccer history of Icarus. So, and this is what the spirit of Icarus is, that we are also friends, or we think we are friends, and out of that friendship, we create our projects. Out of that friendship also, we cross the borders, we overcome barriers, and we fostered our cooperation. So, a huge thanks to all of you who have contributed to that way and who have accompanied that way. I also have to say a huge thanks to all who contributed that tonight this event could be organized. First of all, I would like to thank the President of the Austrian National Council, who is the host of this evening, despite the fact that he is not here. I would like to thank the Austrian State Archives, that provided us the Hofkammerarchiv for a pre-reception before, and firstly had offered us to have this ceremony in the Hofkammerarchiv, but as you can see in the Hofkammerarchiv there fit only 80 persons into, so we had to search for a bigger venue. So thank you very much, dear colleagues from the Austrian State Archives. I have to thank the Austrian Institute for Historical Research, because they organized that bigger venue here. So you see that we can be here, it's the result of crisis management. Because 3 weeks ago, we didn't know where the event would take place. And with the help of the Austrian Institute for Historical Research, we could do it here. I would like to thank all those who have participated in our round table today. Our idea was, firstly, was to make a film, an image film of the history of Icarus. And then we thought, hey, when we have all the guys here today, we can do something like a film, but we can do it live with the interviews by them. So thank you very much for giving your statements and giving us also sharing your memories with us. It was really great. I would like to thank also the film crew, the famous Robert Jaro Zimmermann, Reiter was already mentioned, but also I'd like to thank Horst and Ingrid Reinhardt for filming this event, so nothing gets lost in Icarus. I would like to thank also the string quartet. Thank you very much for Thank you very much for framing our event with such wonderful music, and I think one of the biggest and most wonderful pieces of music is still missing. It's the last one. You will hear it then. I would like to thank, but for me personally, it's very important to thank my diocese, the St. Pölten diocese. That is the fundament of that, what I can do personally and professionally, and first of all also my team there. If my team, Charlie Kollermann, Sandra Stummer, Franz Kotzian, Eugen Nowak, and until last year also Heidi Bachhofer, if you wouldn't keep my back so free, so many things would not be possible. So thank you very much that you keep the archives running while I'm traveling through the world. So it's also your merit that Icarus could grow during the last years. But I must not forget the event crew of the Vienna University that helped to prepare the room here. Thank you very much. Of course, we are hungry, we need something to eat. Thank you, the company Pöllmann, for the catering today. But I think the most important, the heart of Icarus, are the people sitting in the center, in the Erdberger Lände, in the 3rd district in Vienna, and working there sometimes, because mostly they work at home. And today's event is a result of their creativity. So I'd like to ask Daniel, Kerstin, and Karl to come here. And please, Caroline, would you come here? And also Dagmar Weidinger, please, could you come here? You all know them very, very much, very well, and they are the ones who keep the wheel turning, and without your motivation, without your energy doing more than just required, I think we wouldn't have got so far. Managing European projects is really a huge, huge work, and managing all the sheets and all the finances and all the tables and numbers, it's really terrible, but they do it, but they do it also in another way. They try to keep the network together, and that's my wish for the future, that we make it to keep our network together, to further develop it, and also to find further new visions for that network. But I'm confident that it will work, because a space for collaboration is always needed, and also in the future will always be needed, on the basis of solidarity, of openness, of flexibility. And I think we will make it to act in the future in that sense. So, thank you very much. Enjoy the last piece of music. You will be surprised how wonderful heavy metal music can be. Afterwards, you are invited on behalf of the President of the National Council for a wonderful reception here behind. And on the back of the program, you have a map where the after-show party takes place, with some more musical surprises. So enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Just 1 second. Actually, before we're going to continue with the music, no, but something different first. I would like Jaco, come on stage with me, please, because, of course, thanking everyone, there are 2 persons that deserve a special thanks. And Jaco, the mic is yours.
You and me? The persons, I think? No, dear colleagues, dear friends, today evening we heard about different Icarus pillars, activity, I don't know, monasterium, matricula, but everybody knows, dear Thomas and dear Karl, that the actual pillars of Icarus are you, dear friends. And it's my honor to thank you for your great ideas, great efforts and enthusiasm, and to give you a special present on behalf of our executive board and of course of all our members. And it's an object with manifold symbolic, a symbol of the whole or the perfection, but also the symbol of movement, a symbol of dynamics, and the symbol of our Icarus spirit, which is to take challenges, to compete, but also to have fun and to play. So please, thank you for everything you did for all of us, and enjoy your new present. Please practice for our next football game, or make now the kickoff for the next 10 years or something, no? You are allowed to. No? Ja, und Unterschriften kommen später, ne?
And also, one more thing, it wouldn't be an Icarus soccer ball without having everyone's signature on it. So on your way out, make sure you grab a pen and sign this soccer ball, which of course should be taken to all of the upcoming soccer matches, and yes, will accompany us for the next few years. Also, one final announcement, when you go out, make sure to pick up this little thing. It's a little reminder of our time travel tonight, and it's quite old school. You can put it on your wall in the office or at home. All right. Thank you.
there's one more thing that I have missed. Of course, we have to take a family photo. Please come over.